Joining us now is the head coach of the Crimson Tide. Nick Saban is joining us as Alabama is making its way to Pasadena for the national championship game. Nick, you said after the Florida game you really didn't mention the national championship game to your team because they knew. How do you plan to turn their attention and their focus to Texas now after the big win over Florida?
Well, I drew a line on the board today, put the SEC championship game, drew a straight line all the way across the board. There's 32 days of the national championship game, and you know the best way to get from here to there is a straight line, and that's everybody doing what they need to do to play their best football game when we get to the national championship game. You know, great moments create great opportunities, and our team has certainly created a tremendous opportunity for itself, and Texas is a great team. And you know, I don't know why you guys have to seem like you got to make somebody Goliath and somebody David in every one of these games, all right, and then it's a psychological advantage or disadvantage of somebody. Texas, I mean, they got a great football team. I mean, they got the best quarterback in the country probably in terms of statistics, and might win the Heisman Trophy, and probably has as good a chance as anybody to win it. And you know, Nebraska played a really good defensive game against them, and all of a sudden, you know, and our team played great against Florida. I was so proud of the way our team competed and played in the game. Great resiliency, competitive character. I mean, something that we learned in last year's game and losing, we were able to, you know, have the will to win this year, and I was really proud of our team. But Texas has a great team, and there is no David and Goliath in this game. Why can't it be a great game with two great teams playing? That's my question for you.
I think I'm sold. Two Goliaths, two great traditional powerhouses throughout the history of college football. Nick, as you look at this game, you talked about the refusal to be denied, the competitive character of a champion. What are the tangible things that happened on a field that shows a coach that that message has gotten through to his players?
Well, I think all year long this team has always been able to make the plays they needed to make to win the game, whether it was the end of the Tennessee game or winning the Auburn game with a great drive at the end of the game. And there were numerous plays last night, whether it was a punter getting James on the ground, Trent Richardson making 6 yards when he should have lost 2, great effort by Mark Ingram on a screen pass, defensive players chasing Tebow around. I mean, there's a lot of examples that, you know, there's a lot of commitment on this team to a standard of excellence to be the best that they can be, and their will to win was, I think, extraordinary and extraordinarily exemplified in last night's game.
Nick Luholtz, when I talked to you this summer, you were very, very high on your quarterback, Greg McElroy. And yet at the same time, he had never played a football game, but you just said you had great confidence in him. And he has just performed brilliantly down the stretch. Has he even surprised you?
No, he didn't surprise me because Greg's a bright guy. He's smart. He's got a willingness to take what the defense gives him. He makes good choices and decisions. He takes care of the football. And what he lacks maybe in maybe just having the strongest arm in the world or whatever, he makes up for in making good choices and decisions. And the quarterback's a distributor of the ball, in my opinion. And he does a great job of distributing the ball to a lot of our players on our team and giving us a chance to make plays. And our entire offensive team, offensive line did a great job last night. Receivers did a great job. 3 runners did a great job in the game. That was a fine of overall offensive performance, as I've seen for a long time against a very good Florida defense. And of course, Greg had a lot to do with that because he distributed the ball to all those players, got us in the right plays. But I was really proud of the way our offensive team played. And when we had to do a player of the week this week, it was the whole offensive team because they did a great job.
A good move.
Coach, Mark Ingram has been sensational all season long, running through SEC defenses week in and week out, but he saved arguably his best performance for last night against a marquee SEC defense in Florida. After Colt McCoy's struggle, 3 interceptions, in your eyes, does Mark Ingram deserve the Heisman Trophy?
Look, Mark's done a great job for our team. He's a great player. He's a great competitor. He's got a great running style, and he's had great production this year. You know, it's hard for me to make comparisons to Mark with other players, and it's really unfair for you to ask me to do that when I don't see all these other guys play all the time unless we play them. I think Mark's one of the best players on our team, and our team is one of the best teams in the country, and he's done a fantastic job. And I'd love to see our players, any of our players, get all the accolades and awards that they possibly can and deserve, and Mark's done as good a job for our team as any player ever has for any team that I've coached.
Coach, what corrections did you make in your special teams, particularly your kickoff coverage? Because in this game, you didn't give up any big plays, all solid plays, all great coverage against Florida.
Well, the first thing I did was I called Lou. He didn't tell you that? For me doing these Dr. Lou things, I called Lou and said, Lou, you're always a great special teams coach. How can we better cover kicks? And he said, have 3 safeties. So what we did was we actually created ways where we changed lanes so that we had different levels in our kick coverage, and it's really helped us in the last 3 or 4 games of the season.
I just have so much respect and so proud of what you've done. And I said, I've coached against you, and after you play, I would count the guys on defense because I swear you had 15 guys coming after us in different ways. You could be playing with 11.
Hey, Nick, what impact does it have on preparation when the other team has a staff that had a couple of guys that have worked as closely with you as Muschamp and Applewhite have?
Well, both those guys are really good coaches, did a fantastic job for us when they worked for us. I think Will Muschamp's one of the finest assistant coaches that's ever worked for me on any level, and did a wonderful job, and he's done a tremendous job at Texas. And Major Applewhite is one of the fine young coaches, young offensive minds that's going to develop into a great offensive coordinator and a good head coach someday. But I really think that stuff gets overrated, because I think when we play, especially when you have this much time, we'll know so much about each other's team tendencies, watch the entire season, have cut-ups, and have a really good feel for it. And I just think that in a game like this especially, that might get a little bit overrated, although those 2 guys have done a fantastic job. But we also know how they think, too, so it kind of goes both ways.
Hey, Coach, it's Herbie. Whether you like it or not, you think the 4 or 5 of us are giving a David versus Goliath? It is going to get big time in the next 30 days. But you're the king of dealing with things and getting your team to spin it in a direction where they're not going to show up unprepared as far as the mental makeup. So what can you do if you take us out of the scenario, and every magazine and every television show does talk about Bama against the Texas team that we all watched last week? What do you do to talk about that?
Well, I just think that the players have to understand, and this is no disrespect to the media. I love you guys. You do a great job of helping our players get all the positive self-gratification they deserve by the attention that you give. But we can't get set up. Our team can't be set up by you guys making them think Texas is not a great football team, and this is not going to be a great football game. I mean, it makes for good news, but that's not the way it is, guys, and our players need to understand that every time they hear that, every time they see that, they're being set up. And make sure you have the proper respect for the opponent that you're going to play, because when you play in a championship game, I don't care if it's the SEC championship game or a national championship game, you can rest assured the other team is pretty good, they know how to win, and they want to win that game. So you better have the kind of intangible attitude to not be denied in terms of what you want to accomplish, or you're going to have problems.
Nick, we thank you so much for spending time with us. I look forward to seeing you in Pasadena, and good luck.
All right, thank you, guys.